Hello, hello. It's been a long time. Some might say too long since I've put out a Lightroom Classic or Lightroom tutorial at all. So for those of you that have been following along with the channel over the years, welcome back. If you're new to the channel, obviously by the name of said channel, my name is Michael Brung. I'm a nature and landscape photographer based out of Fort Worth, Texas. And today we're here to talk about a little trick that I saw someone share on a Discord server, Landscape Photographers Worldwide. If you happen to listen to my podcast, Shutter Nonsense, that I co-host with Jeffrey Tadlock, you've probably heard us talk about this Discord. It's a really great group, online community, essentially, where you can come in and talk all things nature and landscape photography. But that's not really why we're here. But the reason I bring it up, again, is I heard somebody, or I saw somebody post on there about using reflection removal, the new removal tool in Lightroom, to clean up sun flares, which I had certainly never thought of doing. So I got curious and I wanted to see how well does it actually work on some images that I've pulled out, for example, to show you right here and now. So without further ado, we'll just jump on into Lightroom Classic to see how well the new Remove Reflections tool works or doesn't work in removing reflections from your landscape and nature photos. Okay, so here we have an unedited version of a photo I took way back in 2018 from Grand Teton National Park. And as we can see, there's a pretty obvious flare going on down here in the lower left corner of the scene. So the question is, how can we remove this? Now, traditionally, I've done some things like taking a mask and trying to use the inverse of the color of the flare to minimize it, maybe do a mix of desaturation and just color management in general, which has worked pretty well oftentimes. Sometimes, though, it's just not sufficient, especially for a really strong flare like this. The other option these days would be to use the new AI remove tools or AI generate remove, which is fantastic. It would easily take care of this little blob right here. But let's see how the reflection removal tool does. Now, I've cheated a little bit. I've already applied the reflection removal to all of these examples just for the sake of not making you sit and wait through the processing time, which honestly, I'm processing these at standard resolution, so they would take a little bit longer if I ran them through at best resolution. But honestly, it's on my M4 Max, which I admit I'm thankful I have this beefy laptop, but on my M4 Max MacBook Pro, it's running the standard preview in less than 10 seconds. So it's not too bad, but the different preview levels or the different quality levels you choose will impact the output or the quality of the final image. And at the end, we'll show you the difference between standard and preview so you can get an idea of exactly how good this can be for your use cases. But enough of that. So let's go in here. I'm going to hold down the Option key. This will be Alt on Windows. And we're going to re-enable the Remove Reflection tool or Distraction Removal Reflections, whatever you want to call it. And there we go. Now we see that suddenly that big blob is gone. Now you can see it didn't remove the flare all the way into the corner, the I guess, softer flare you would call it. But that big flare that was right here, and I can toggle this on and off, is cleaned up pretty darn nicely with just that one click. And again, when I ran this on standard resolution, it took about 10 seconds, actually less than 10 seconds, to process this and remove that flare for me. So pretty impressive. There is maybe just a little bit of a hint of something in there still. The other thing you can do is change the amount of the reflection remove. So as I pull this over actually to the left, it's removing everything but the reflection. Clearly not what we want to use, but that lets you know what it's actually identified as a potential reflection. And again, this tool is not meant to work for lens flares. It's meant to remove reflections from photographing through a window or something of that nature. So we're definitely kind of shoehorning this solution in as a potential tool for us landscape photographers. But again, pretty good job in removing that big blob of a flare, but it didn't do so great on the lower left corner itself where there's that softer flare. But I'd call this maybe like a C+ in terms of the quality of the remove. Let's look at this next picture. This is one that I have edited before. Actually, I've edited the first one as well. It's in my portfolio. But this one, if I show you the before and after, you can see obviously in the before, the raw file, there's a huge amount of flare going on here in the kind of lower middle of the frame. You can see I cleaned it up quite nicely. I did so again through some of my brush tricks that I've used in the past. And then once the AI generative remove came along, I went and I cleaned up a little bit more accurately with that tool as opposed to relying on kind of doing that color inverse stuff and everything that I was doing in the brush. But again, let's see how reflection remove does for this photo. So we're going to hold down Option or Alt, re-enable that, and pretty darn impressive. There's still this little bit of a flare sitting right here that could easily be removed with any of the remove tools, probably whether you're using the old heal tool or content aware fill or the new AI generative remove. That is really, really impressive for what was a pretty darn complex set of flares throughout the image. Now you can see it's darkening the overall image because essentially it's kind of working like dehaze to an extent as well, to where it's trying to cut through, again, reflection, which oftentimes would kind of come through in a photo as kind of that light haze and atmosphere that you would get in landscape photography. So it is cutting that down a little bit, but that's pretty much easily countered if we just bump up the shadows and exposure and get back to where we want to be. But that is pretty darn impressive right there. And again, if I slide this all the way to the left, it's going to show us what all I identified as a flare. So you can see all through here, we've got a flare identified. And actually, let me real quick. I just realized I didn't turn on my cursor highlight. So let's do that. All right, now you can see my cursor. So all through here, it's identified that there's some flare, and then obviously those really, really strong, impactful flares down in the lower portion. So that is, in my estimation, a really impressive result. I would, just for the sake that it did leave this one little thing, I'm still inclined to rate it as an A if I were grading it, because that's pretty darn impressive if you ask me. I'm curious, there were some little flares going on up here, I think. Maybe I've got the wrong photo in mind, but regardless, you can see how it's cleaning that up. And actually there is some flaring kind of through this general area below the sunburst, and it's helping cut through that a little bit. So again, I think I would give that at least an A, if not a little bit higher, just for the simple fact that that was a pretty strong flare and it did a pretty darn good job of removing it. So let's move on to some newer photos. I've got 4 images that I'd recently made on my trip to Yosemite National Park back in February of this year. And again, we can see we've got a really strong flare here. If we look in this lower left corner, there's kind of this, hopefully you can see it on the recording, but there's kind of this hazy purple flare that came into the scene. There's even, I think, maybe a little bit up in here, although it's a little hard to tell. But this is obviously the biggie, and then that purple haze down there. So once again, hold down Alter Option, and I'm going to enable it so we can see here, didn't do so hot. It did do a nice job of cutting through some of the haze in the lower portion of the trees and got rid of that purple schmear pretty nicely down there, but it really didn't touch this yellow blob at all. I can't even say it didn't really touch it. It didn't touch it at all, which is a little surprising because on some other images it did really well. And as we pull the slider over, you can see that it's really not even showing us too much of what it's identifying, but a little bit in here, you can see if I don't pull the slider all the way, it's picked up a little bit here, a little bit here, and then obviously that purple streak down there has been touched as well. And ironically, as we pull it all the way over, you can see it didn't detect that yellow blob any way, shape, or form as a flare to clean up. Again, this would be pretty easy to clean up in terms of using probably you get by with the heal remove tool, but definitely AI generative remove would clean that right up, no issue, and you'd be good to go. And again, this is running on standard quality. So if you're noticing that the image quality, as I flip back and forth between the reflection removal applied and not, that does get softer. But again, we're running on standard quality. So towards the end here, I'll show you the difference between standard quality and best quality so you can get an idea of what it's going to do to the image quality of your photos and determine if it's going to work for you in the long run. Here's another take on that same scene. You can see I was trying to block out the sun with my hand. Failed a little bit, although I could remove that easily enough with generative remove. But here we've got a nice big yellowish flare, greenish flare right there. We don't have the big flare in this general vicinity that we had on the other image, but we've introduced a new one up here. So on this one, sad to say, it really didn't work at all. If I toggle back and forth, again, you can see one thing I forgot to point out. There is some flaring down here. Again, it's kind of that hazy, very, very light purplish flaring down in the kind of lower right. So it did tackle that. So it did a good job of that, but it did not touch this flare right up here, which is really the bigger issue of the two. That other one is so minimal. You could probably clean it up with a brush and some dehazing, and again, maybe some slight color management. But it's great that it removed it, but it didn't remove the biggest culprit, which is this big flare right up here. This next one I'm going to actually save towards the end because A, it's an interesting use case, and B, that's the one I want to show you the difference in quality between standard and best. So let's jump to this last photo. So here we can see, again, we've got a nice big flare right here. I can't quite tell if this is a flare in this spot, this little green blotch. It might just be a pocket of green leaves, but I want to say that's a flare, but it's not quite at the right angle. So we'll give it the benefit of the doubt on that one, but let's enable the removal that I did. And we can see again, unfortunately, it did not address the main culprit, which is that big blob right there. It didn't touch it whatsoever. It actually maybe minimized that down a little bit, but that could also just be a carry-on effect of the lower quality that I'm using with the standard quality, in that it's a little blurred, but unfortunately did not do anything whatsoever on that kind of reddish orange flare. So that one was a little disappointing. If we're going on the grading system still, I would say that these last three that we looked at, this one essentially is a fail. This one is essentially a fail. This one, given what all it did, it removed that purple hazy streak down in the lower left, and actually it looks like a little bit in this general vicinity as I toggle back and forth. There might have been a little side flaring coming there too, but it didn't do anything with the most obvious flare right there. So I'd probably rate this one a C. It cleaned up some of it, but it didn't clean up the main culprit. Now though, let's take a look at this use case. This was not anything I don't think discussed on the Landscape Photographers Worldwide Discord. When I apologize, whoever posted, I can't remember who posted it, but it blew everybody's mind in the job it did in cleaning up your photos. But I don't think you had anything like this where you actually had water droplets on your lens. You can see this is really pervasive all through this right side of the lens where the sun was hitting it, and then you had all that mist and spray coming off of Bridal Veil Falls here. So I thought, hey, I just wonder, could it maybe address this? And how about that? That is pretty damn impressive. I was not expecting it to do anything or anywhere near that well. I thought maybe it would do okay, but that is impressive. And honestly, it even kind of left the haze alone for the most part. There might be a little blotchiness in there, but if you didn't really know what you were looking for, I don't know that anybody would ever notice it. Now, it didn't get every single one. There's still, looks like one right here. But man, overall, that did a pretty darn good job. I'm surprised it did impact this one a little bit. You can see it's a little improved. Maybe it thought that that rock color or that rock face was a different color and it didn't adjust it. But this one really kind of blew my socks off. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room is quality. So again, I'm running this on standard quality. You can see as I toggle back and forth, we are losing a lot of sharpness in the foliage on standard quality. So this might be okay if you were sharing on social media, or you just wanted to get an idea if it was going to work and didn't want to wait the time for the best quality to process. But from a print standpoint, from a sharing this in my portfolio standpoint, this quality is not going to cut it. So let's go ahead and in real time run this in best. I haven't even tried this yet. This is the first time I've ever used reflection removal. So you are right here on this journey with me. I have no idea how good the best quality is going to be. I don't know how long it's going to take. So if I need to, I'll cut out some of the video, but I'll let you know how long it took roughly, and we'll see what we get. So let's go ahead and click it and give it a moment. So it's saying 45 seconds. If that's truly the case, I'll cut some of this out, but it looks like it's moving pretty quickly. Okay, so I've got the reflection removal disabled for the time being. So this is the original sharpness of the image. I did cut out some of the processing time. It was pretty close to probably 35 to 45 seconds in terms of the total processing. My fans actually spun up a little bit on my MacBook Pro, which does not happen very often. So it's clearly chugging away, but let's see, how's the quality look? So I'm going to enable it, let go of the eyeball. And at 100%, other than those minor shifts in some of the contrast piece here, I can't say I notice a difference. So let's go look at that foliage. So again, this is the before. And kudos to Adobe. It looks like it's pretty well matching the raw data, the raw sharpness. So again, pretty impressive there as well. I really, like I said, this is the first time, literally the first time I've used reflection removal because I don't shoot through windows. I never thought I'd have a use case for it. And I'm pretty happy. So again, you look at before and after on this one in particular. I mean, that's pretty incredible. If I zoom in up here, we can compare the sharpness. So before, looking at this little tree detail here and the tree up here, just the sharpness of the rock face where there aren't water droplets, I am not really seeing any degradation of quality. So to Adobe's credit, best actually seems to be best quality, and certainly sufficient to publish this in my portfolio, sell it as a print, so on and so forth. So that's pretty crazy. I'm just going to keep flipping back and forth on this. It really blows my mind. So there you have it. A little tip for using reflection removal for us landscape and nature photographers. Like I said, never tried it. Didn't really think there'd be a use case for it. And here I am, I'm pleasantly surprised. So let me know in the comments below if you've used it for this purpose, or if you're trying it out, let me know what the results are like. And hopefully this little tip works for you. Before I let you go, just real quickly, I do want to let you know that Jeffrey Tadlock, my podcast co-host, and I, we do have one spot remaining on our Spring Smoky Mountains workshop that's running April 21st through 25th. One spot. We had somebody express interest, but ultimately they never put their deposit down. So that space is available. We're going to be cutting off registrations pretty soon here. So if you are interested, hop over to michaelrungphotography.com. I'll put the link in the description below, and you can sign up for the workshop and join us for a great time in an absolutely beautiful spring location of the Smoky Mountains. And the other thing I wanted to let you all know about real quickly before I let you go is, if you haven't been paying attention, if you're not subscribed to my newsletter, if you don't follow me on social media, I've recently released a photographer app called PHOTOPACK Pro. One of the things that I've been frustrated with over the years as I've been preparing for trips and outings and whatnot is trying to use different to-do lists and Excel spreadsheets or Google Sheets, whatever, to keep track of all of my gear, what I need to pack, what I need to prep, so on and so forth. I finally decided to do something about it. And I've seen plenty of people. I just saw somebody a couple of weeks ago on Facebook lamenting the fact that they attended a workshop and they forgot, I think, their extra SD cards. So they were running really limited. So PHOTOPACK Pro, the intent of it is to help you avoid forgetting gear ever again. It also helps you with tasks that you need to do beforehand. If you're a wedding or portrait photographer, you can put shot list into it, so on and so forth. And coming up soon here as I'm recording this, and possibly by the time you're viewing this, I'll have a new share list functionality as well. So whether you're a workshop leader and you want to give your attendees a list of gear and clothing and whatnot that they should bring, you'll be able to share that list with them. Or if you just got a friend you want to share a list with, you're both going to the same location, what have you, you can share that list with them, export it out of your app, and they can import it right in. Works across Android and iPhone, no problem whatsoever. But the feedback on the app has been really, really good. If you go to photopackpro.com, you can find more information, screenshots, a little video walkthrough of it. I'll be working on tutorial videos as well. It's pretty straightforward, but I realized for somebody coming into it that didn't develop it as I have, it's all brand new, so there might be a little bit of confusion, but really excited to have this out. It ultimately, I've spent a decent chunk of money developing this. Ultimately, it solved my problem, and I'm hoping it solves a problem for others out there as well, hence publication to the app stores and all that good stuff. So again, photopackpro.com is where you can find more information, find the links to download it for your device, as well as I'll put the links in the description below. And with all that out of the way, hopefully it's not going to be another, gosh, I don't know how long it's been since my last Lightroom tutorial, but hopefully it won't be as long as that. And in the meantime, I hope you find this helpful. Weird little trick that just happens to work 50-50, we'll call it, but I'd say it's worth trying if you run into situations like this. So with that, thanks for watching, and until next time, take care.